Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to In and Out. Welcome to the first of the two talks that we are hosting in the context of the festival. I hope you are safe and sound wherever you are. My name is Chico Dub. I'm In and Out director and also Novas Frequências curator. For those who don't know, In and Out Festival is a collaboration between Novas Frequências, Nyege Nyege, and Sonic Matter, and also the liaison offices of Pro Helvetia in South America and Johannesburg. So I'm extremely happy to mediate this talk with my In and Out colleagues, Katharina Rosenberger and Lisa Nolte from Sonic Matter, and Debru from Nyege Nyege. Thank you so much for joining this crazy idea of doing a digital festival and also for participating in this talk. We are going to discuss the festival itself, our individual projects, and also the experience about doing this collective thing together. How are you doing, guys?
Great.
Good.
Good.
So,
and you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Despite the chaos in my country, I'm doing all right. So let's begin. I would like if you could explain a little bit about your festivals and at which point they are currently at, and finally, how are you facing the pandemic? Who wants to begin? Anyone?
Should we?
Lisa.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. For us, it's still sort of a becoming of a festival because Sonic Matter will take place in Zurich in December for the first time, this coming December. And the festival is actually part of a platform for experimental music. And this platform was launched online in April of this year. And it exists right now of a transcontinental open lab and a radio, and both have been launched already and are running very regularly. And in December, the festival will be going on for 4 days, and around it there will be sound art days. And the idea of the platform was actually created during the first lockdown. So we luckily could develop it already keeping in mind that there could be a chance we will have to host the festival remotely even in December of this year. And so we made a point of setting up a very powerful online infrastructure from the beginning. But of course, the aim in the end is primarily to have a live festival. Still, the teams working on the Open Lab right now are scattered around North and South America and Switzerland. And originally they were supposed to visit each other in their countries and share their work on site, which now obviously will not happen.
Katharina, maybe you want to add something about, I don't know, the witness thing, which is such an interesting idea about like doing open labs monthly in a sort of I don't know, like, how can I say that? As a warm up, if you will, of the main action in December.
Yeah. Yes, I'm happy to say something. Actually, there is a lot of anticipation of the works that are just developed right now, but it's much more than a warm up because, as you mentioned, the groups have a presentation every month, each group. So, and they have produced already amazing work that you can follow on our platform on www.sonicmatter.ch. So you find audiovisual materials, written materials, statements from the artists on what they investigate, what encounters they had. So it's really bustling with activity. And what is very special is first, Julie Beauvais, she's running, that's her brainchild, The Witness, this open lab. She invited different groups from different locations. Bolivia is part of it. We have groups in Brazil, as you know, in Canada, and we have 2 different ones in also in America, also in Ecuador one. And so, we expect that each group works on their own project, but what has happened during the course that they are completely intertwined with each other. They're discussing all the time their works. And this is so beautiful to see that even despite they are separate along the whole continent, they have started to work together. And so we will still feature their work at our festival, but it is planned for this year that this happens online. But it's incredibly active already, and everybody can follow it on our platform already.
Nice. Derek?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been quite difficult. Obviously, with the pandemic, our last edition was in September in 2019. That was our fifth edition, and then last year we sort of opted also for a hybrid digital event, and that was also our chance to sort of think, what are the things that we can do now that we couldn't do before. And I think a little bit what Katharina was saying about, everybody sort of working together in new ways. And we've also decided to reach out to about 30 collectives on the continent that were doing things similar to us in different fields, be it performance arts, dance, visual arts, or music, and to collaborate on an edition together. So that was really a sort of time to reach out and to see, what was everybody else's challenges and how we could also work together despite the circumstances. So that was really positive. And then this year we thought COVID was about to end, and we just recently had a big spike. So it's going to be difficult for us to have our actual festival probably this year. But in line a little bit with what we did last year, we're thinking about doing a smaller edition in Cameroon together with some of the festivals that we've collaborated there, especially in dance and performance arts. So we now have ongoing collaboration on music videos, and then we would like to go there and bring the music element to their festival. So it's really about, I think, resilience, and that's probably something that we all share. Luckily, we have this space in Kampala that is a bit the beating heart of our project. That is an ongoing open residency to young artists, to artists from the region, and also international artists or artists from the continent that come here and collaborate, participate in workshops, come and record albums and music, etc. So that's been really a blessing for us to be able to continue to produce and also to entertain digital sort of commissions like the one that you, Chico, you brought together here. So
and also,
we're hoping
like 2 labels, right?
Yeah. So as part of our project, so we started in 2014 as a party, basically a party for alternative music and different people that didn't really find their space, and then out of this party grew a sort of collective community that has pushed different projects forward. So we have this center, and out of this center, 2 record labels put out music, Akuna Kulala and Nyege Nyege tapes, and we were recently featured in the New York Times. I have to say we were very happy about that on our last release. And then the festival is also the sort of yearly showcase where we both invite different sounds and different ambassadors of sounds from the continent to participate in that gathering. And we also invite a lot of bookers and festival programmers to see what is happening in the East African underground scene. So it's a big reunion for a lot of different communities in East Africa that get together, from the sort of hip hop to more experimental electronics, metal, different really sounds, also traditional music that come together for 4 days and nights of festival. The festival happens in Jinja, at the source of the Nile, and it's really a big sort of rave. You know, it doesn't stop for 96 hours, and we're really, we miss it.
Nice. Hope I can see it in real life next year.
Yeah, hopefully.
But so regarding Novas Frequências, we are currently working on our 11th edition in the end of the year. Novas Frequências started in Rio, Brazil in 2011. I still like it to tag it under the experimental music umbrella. I think it's still the best term to describe the activities we do, which is, of course, like new trends, out-of-the-box processes and procediments, and basically the unknown, the unheard. Unlike last year, we did a 100% digital event. For 2021, we are hoping to do a hybrid edition, like mixing digital activities with physical events. The ratio is still unknown for us, like how much actual physical events we're going to be able to do. Of course, because of COVID, the COVID situation still is not very good as we speak. But I'll keep, of course, the digital experiences, which can be very, very interesting. Especially, I would say, for experimentation, like it gives the artists ways of trying something they never did before. And I think that especially collaborating with other art realms, as you were saying, Derek, dance, theater, video, etc., etc. So yeah, I think this is how we are what we're aiming to do in the end of the year. And yeah, fingers crossed that we can do at least like a 50-50 event, like 50% physical activities, 50% digital. So now I wanted to ask you specifically about In and Out. So could you please briefly talk about the projects that you brought to the table? Why did you wanted to work with these projects with the artists you invited, and how did the experience happen?
I can start, for instance. So yeah, in the team of Sonic Matter, so Lisa and I, we decided each one of us brings in a project. And I have first spoken to the Basel-based percussion and electronic music duo Reconvert. And I talked to them about the format of In and Out, and that is an online festival that also reflects the pandemic. And they then came up with this ambitious project to create a participatory experience for the audience. Because usually, we've seen so many documentation of concerts for the past year, and there's so much missing in that of like being together with the people and being there live. And their idea was, we open a space where we perform for 48 hours. There is going to be an interaction with the audience, so the audience member can write in a chat and kind of guide the performance. And I felt like, wow, that's really a big project just to design in like what was it, Chico, like 2 months or something? And then also what is so beautiful about this In and Out Festival is that each team works with artists from the other continents. And so that of course is another challenge. And Reconvert branched out to then find really two wonderful artists from South America, Milena Pafundi, Mexican-based, and FSL from Colombia. And they have been on it for like the past 1.5 months. So they contribute with the visual arts, like live audiovisual art. And I had the chance last night to get 30 minutes to interact with them, and it was really mesmerizing because I was really sucked into the piece of beautiful visuals moving according to my abstract adjectives, like words that I typed in or a narrative that I contributed. And so they improvise. So the musicians react to me, but they also react to the visuals, and thinking just that they are all in different places, and the communication was so intense and tight, it was completely mind-boggling. And also just thinking, wow, what happens to an artwork like that? So yes, I'm missing to not physically be with each other, but at the same time, it's just thinking, where does now the art piece takes place, and what is the art piece when all the elements are completely distributed over the world? So I'm keeping thinking of that experience that was very special.
I think that's really interesting to think about the audience, and I think that's been really a challenge for artists to understand, how to consider the audience when it's not physically present. And I thought that was a great way to at least challenge, the audience, even if the audience is small, but they're actually present. And sometimes it is a bit frustrating, not only that you cannot see or feel the audience, but you also don't know how many people are there, or how do people perceive, where are they when they receive what you're making. And I think that was a really nice direction. And it would be amazing to have like thousands of people that are there at that particular moment and know what they're getting into, and to participate together. I think, Chico, you can probably also talk about how challenging it is sometimes to communicate on these digital events, and to sort of motivate people to be present, even though it's behind their computer or on the phone or wherever they are. You can still be present, and but we don't have a physical sign that there's presence. And I think this is really what's difficult for all of us.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and for me, it's like just a simple tool, like a very simple way of communicating. But the chats, when stuff are happening digitally, like the chats in YouTube or other platforms, they can keep like at least some of the vibes, of the energy of a live event. So I've been like researching a lot of those chats recently, and it's amazing about, even though things are out from a distance, people are not like physically communicating or exchanging. It's amazing about the power of communication, and yeah. So again, it's such a small gesture, but things are happening, and we need to like keep doing art, keep doing the things that we're doing, that we know how to do, and hopefully we'll be able in the future to like properly mix both. Because again, I'm always saying that I would like skip to a physical event with my eyes shut, like this quick, but I wouldn't lose I wouldn't want it to lose at the same time the interaction that I'm having with people from different parts of the world. Like this year, I can sense that Novas Frequências is reaching new people in Europe, in Africa now with our partnership. And this is amazing. It's a way of, doing things we haven't done before. And I mean, Brazil is such a big country. It has continental dimension. So even in Brazil, it's very, very hard to attract people from elsewhere, from outside Rio and São Paulo mostly. So now we're being able to invite artists from different parts of the country, from the north, from the south, and it's such a beautiful idea to try to combine both in the near future. Yeah.
I think that's really an asset that we come out of this pandemic, that we just are in a mindset that we can connect basically whenever we want, and there are no geographical limits. And as you said, we can bring in voices to our festivals, to gatherings that before we might maybe simply not have thought about it, but now we know it's possible easily.
Yeah. I briefly want to. Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I also think that before it was seemed impossible to gather so many artists from everywhere without actually traveling there. But now this exchange about the artists has been, I think, very fruitful, and also most of them have strengthened their online presence, and that's a very, very good experience about this.
That to conclude this subject, I just wanted to add that I feel mixed feelings, a lot of mixed feelings about what we're doing at the moment, because in one point it's amazing to communicate with the world and invite people from parts of the world that would be impossible to actually work. But at the same time, now I'm specifically talking about Brazil. The artistic community is suffering big time. Like it was already a fragile. They were already in a fragile situation because they're working with experimental art, be it electronic music or improv music or whatever. And now with the pandemic, with not being able to actually play live and get some of the percentage of of the venue that they're playing, it's very, very, very hard for them. So in a way, I want to invite people from Jakarta, people from Uganda, but at the same time, I don't want to lose the community, like the community values, the people that are working locally. So I'm in this big, middle position. So that's why now going into the projects that Novas Frequências brought to In and Out, I have this big question floating in my mind, which is where to now? I think it's a question that refers to the times that we're living, but at the same time, it also refers to Novas Frequências at the moment, because we just made 10 years, which is like this big mark, this big achievement. And I wouldn't want to start our 11th edition by doing the same things that we have done in the past. I consider this like the end of a cycle. So in a way, we are like beginning again. We're beginning from scratch. I mean, not from scratch because we have a legacy behind us, but I'm considering this 11th edition to be even more special than the last one. So what to do now, where to go? So yeah, like big question marks around my head, but from a conceptual point of view, it's amazing because it's really like giving us ideas, different ideas about what to do, and now it's just a matter of finding the best ones and go ahead with them. But regarding in and out, and regarding where do we go, regarding what to do, regarding this big question, the only thing I knew is that I wanted to work with Duma from Kenya. That's the first thing immediately. Okay, we're gonna have like Nyege Nyege as a partner, Sonic Matter as a partner. This is amazing, but I want to work with Duma. So after choosing this Kenyan duo based in Kampala, everything like started to arise, like the combinations in terms of sonics. I mean, which artists can combine with them, can match their music, their heavy music. So after I combined those three groups, Duma, Death Brick, and Simon Grab from Switzerland, everything started to make sense and to materialize. And I decided to come up with now I mean, because now since we're doing things digitally, the image has a very, very strong presence. Novas Frequências used to be a very like sound driven festival. Like we only care about sound and music. We never really care about image, about visuals. So it was a big challenge for us to match what we are doing sonically with the image realm. So for this specific project called Rome, this project that has Duma, Death Brick, and Simon Grab, I decided to come up with a 3D, with a first-person 3D game inspired by the games from the 90s. I think that a maze, a labyrinth, is like a perfect representation of the idea of being lost, of the idea of not knowing where to go. And so Rome is this 3D game where you can go and play and find the artist's music scattered in the game's architecture. And while you're trying to find the artist's music, you are going to find different representations, different references of other labyrinths coming from movies, art, literature, poetry, ancient history, whatever. So it's a sort of a meta maze that really wants you to get lost, and maybe if you're lucky to find yourself. This is one of the projects that we brought, and the other one is called Filaments of a Circle. It's also inspired about the idea of this whole idea about being lost in the times that we're living in. So having a chat with Sol Reza, that's an Argentinian sound artist specialized in sound specialization and digital storytelling, I came up with the idea of working maybe with the whole universe of self-help books, which is a universe that I found it very fascinating, because there are lots of interesting stuff in it, but also there's lots of charlatanism hidden or inside this whole thing about self-help books and self-help professionals, whatever. And then she came up with the idea after we chatted about working with the Alice in Wonderland syndrome, which is a very, very rare neurological disorder that can really affect your idea about the world, your idea about time, your idea about space. It can make you feel smaller than you are or bigger than you are. So it's the perfect reflection about what I was thinking. And then we came up with the idea of inviting Ana Lucia Roder, that's a Peruvian artist, visual artist. And yeah, so together they built up this piece that we're gonna see at 4 p.m. Local time in Brazil, which is 9 p.m. in Switzerland and 10 p.m. in Uganda. So yeah, that's it. Maybe you guys want to add something about the projects that you brought?
Yeah, maybe I can talk a bit about what we have tried to do. So for the audience, I guess the main difference for us was that we insisted on bringing the artist physically to Uganda, and that was the first already sort of bold move, I can say, because we were also advised that look, with COVID and traveling and given limited funds and resources, that digital would make sense. But so we sort of took a gamble and invested a big part of the resources into flights and PCR tests and bringing people over here, because I guess we normally do like sort of digital collaborations, mostly between producers and MCs, but there's something about people being in the same space. And also we thought that maybe this is a chance for artists. At that time, there was not much Corona in Uganda, and this was also, we thought, artists are also like trapped, and as much as they will jump on any opportunity to be able to work on something, especially if it's paid, and in this sort of context, it's really a great opportunity. But we thought, maybe they also just need a break from where they are, and this is a little bit, in French we say pied de nez, like fuck you to the pandemic, it really, it tried to lock us down, but out of all, against all odds, like people happened to come to Uganda in this pandemic, and all of the people that came, they were really, when I asked them, look, you still have the possibility of doing something, from remotely, they all insisted that no, it was much more important to go through this experience. And the people that we've brought are also sort of all have their own stories, and it made it even more special for them to come here. In the case, for example, of Chris Fonche de Funk and Jesse Martins, we've followed, some of the more underground baile funk and hip hop and sort of the urban music of Brazil for a while now, and a lot of the DJs here in Kampala, producers, they really like that sound. But we tried to reach out. Sorry, we tried to reach out to these artists before, especially to Chris, but he doesn't speak English, and he's totally out of context. That he wouldn't know Nyege Nyege, or he wouldn't know some of the platforms that we usually interact with. So on our side, a complete outsider. And thanks to Chico, we were able to reach out to him. And first he thought it was a scam. He did not believe, like, how come that I'm being invited in Uganda now? So, and they had never traveled outside of Brazil before. And so we went through the process of getting passports. And then he asked for his friend, also producer and DJ, Jesse Martins, that was the only condition. He said, I can come, but I need to bring my friends. And so we agreed on that, and also he doesn't speak any English, so that was like on top of it all. So it would not have been possible from a distance. And I think Chico, you also experienced working with Duma, the challenges of you operate in your own world, and you don't always know that there's a lot of people outside that you can work with, but it needs some common ground. And to establish that common ground in terms of processes and practice from a distance, when you don't have these references, it can be really tough, you know. So for us, we feel that it could have only happened in this way, and with someone like Chico to be able to call these guys and to explain to them and to, you know, to make sure, you know, they get all their papers in order and come here. So that was already sort of a miracle. So, you know, the residency was as much about, you know, what is going to happen in the interaction with the artists in our collective, but we also recognized, you know, the sort of life-changing potential of Chris and Jesse coming to Uganda and being in this sort of environment now. And so it was really amazing, you know, from the first day that they got there. Everybody was on Google Translate and, you know, working together, and also to see, you know, how they could work with other artists without speaking a word of each other's language. And they also, you know, improved on their English, which we thought was also very important. And for them, they also realized that, you know, they have fans worldwide, that the sounds that they are, you know, ambassadors of, and, you know, Chris even has funk tattooed on his fist. You know, these guys are like diehards of that particular sound. And for them to see that people are really have an interest in that sound, that a lot of also European DJs, you know, play their music and they're not necessarily aware of that. And then to see that they can also, they're artists in their own right, and they don't, in the beginning, really it was interesting to see, you know, you'd hear that baile funk from the, as soon as, you know, these guys played music, as soon as they got on their editing their machines, it's always the same sound, you know, it's very, very recognizable. And I remember one time we said, oh, let's work with an MC. Do you have any beats? And Chris said, oh, let me just make a new beat. And literally in like a minute, 1 minute, he just created, you know, the skeleton of that beat. That's how sort of, you know, like that's how that sound works. And we find it also with Singeli music, for example, from Tanzania. It's often sounds the same, you know, but the reason why we liked Chris is that we also found that, you know, in the 700 tracks he has on SoundCloud, there was also a lot of them that were taking strange like directions. And so we thought he does also have the potential to put his sound to the test and to work on, you know, iteration of his sounds. And that's when it became really interesting for him, you know, to work and collaborate with other producers here, and to take risks, you know, creative risks, and to go into uncharted territories and to see, you know, how can I also refresh myself, and that's a very important part of our space, you know. And we really don't tell people like, you know, what to do, but we definitely challenge them. You know, we offer a really challenging ground, you know, and we ask them to push, you know, further in their own practice and to challenge themselves to explore, you know, their own craft. And I think that really happened with Chris and Jesse. And what's great about beat makers is that, you know, they're used to just making beats all the time and working with MCs. So that process is a really nice one to bring here to the Villa, because, you know, we have so many MCs and producers. So even the language barrier, it didn't really matter, you know. So we had MC Yara come there, work with these guys, and Auntie Razor, an MC from Nigeria. And also from a sort of business and development point of view, you know, for them, in Brazil, you have a platform called Condizila, and that's the second world's biggest online audience for any sort of platform and that happens on YouTube. So Brazil is a huge market, and Nigeria is a huge market in Africa. So, you know, for those two to work together, for Chris to have, you know, fans in Nigeria, and for Auntie Razor and MC Yara to have new fans in Brazil, I think that's really important for us as a collective And, you know, in our vision of, you know, really connecting the global South and underground scenes more, that was really, you know, critical. So we're going to continue to work with Chris for the festival. He has this project in Brazil that's like a cipher. So we also decided to do a cipher. So getting together in the studio, a bit in the boiler room style, and have MCs come and come and rap on the beats and freestyle, and him playing some of the music that he's been making together with Chris, the other Chris, the Congolese Chris. So that was one project. And then let me not talk too much also. So the two other artists was Caipora de Cativeiro from Brazil and Bad Sister. And in their case, we had already worked together. So Bad Sister, we met at Unsound Festival together with Linda Quebrada and Pininga and Jup de Bairo. And we met at this festival and really connected with their crew and with what they stand for. And it really resonates with our own collective here. So we invited Bad Sister to come and perform at the festival in 2019. And that was an amazing experience for her, especially after touring in Europe, which can be quite challenging for artists from the global South. And to play to an African audience was really energizing for her. And so during the digital festival, we also asked her if she wanted to make some work, and she made together with Caipora de Cativeiro, which is a visual artist and director and filmmaker and fashion designer, to create a piece called Ancestors of Tomorrow. And that was on a budget of $200, you know, just to contextualize a little bit the sort of, you know, means and resources that we're working with. And when we saw that this opportunity came about, we really thought that, you know, we had to leverage this opportunity to continue an ongoing relationship, you know, rather than going to bring new people. You know, we thought, no, it's important for us to also show, you know, solidarity and, you know, sort of, you know, to stay with those artists a little bit more, you know, and to create, you know, stronger ties and friendship, you know, because friendship is also critical to our process. You know, you want to, you know, invite them and see that, oh, when you get an opportunity, you also share it with them, and then when they get something, they also share with artists here, and little by little, you know, we're able to share, you know, the opportunities that come along. And for us, it's always the way we think about these sort of projects, is how can we have others, collectives or artists that, you know, can benefit, how can they also benefit. So they're working, and they're actually still working, you know, till the last minute. You can see here. Okay, maybe I'm not seeing, I'm just hearing music, but maybe later to close off, we can see them sort of finishing their piece for tomorrow. So, I mean, I guess in Brazil you also have a bit of an African relationship to time. So, you know, it was really last minute operation, but everything will be ready for tomorrow. And then there's ongoing projects. So Caipora de Cativeiro and Bad Sister are still here. They decided to extend their stay. Chris is going to release an album with us under Nyege Nyege tapes, and hopefully we can help him tour internationally. And then last but not least was Hello Heidi. So that was quite interesting. Again, kind of a radical move, I think, on our side. We were thinking, you know, first to bring a visual artist from Switzerland. And then we were told, no, you know, it's really important, you know, to bring a musician. And you know, we had a lot of, you know, different, you know, proposals, like really interesting, more like, let me say, experimental artists from Switzerland. That was also proposed by Sonic Matters and proposed by some of our collaborators in Switzerland. But then we thought, why don't we like think of Switzerland in a stereotypical way, the way that sometimes people can be looking at us, you know, like, oh, you know, Africa, and it's like drummers, or, you know, it's a harp, or it's like pygmy singing, or, you know, that sort of exotizing of the other, that sort of othering of like, oh, you know, this is Africa, or this is Brazil, or this is this or that. And in our case, Africa usually comes in a bundle, you know. So we thought, well, how can we look at Switzerland in that way? And that made us immediately think of yodeling, you know, and yodeling and this like sort of accordion, and you know, Swiss people eating sausage and drinking beer, and you know, singing folk songs, and you know, that idea, you know, of like being in the mountains, calling in the cows, and but without knowing anything about it. So that was a little bit, you know, this is a bit how people look at us sometimes. So then we had to find a yodeler that was also ready to, that was both a very traditionalist, so someone that was a master of traditions, but also someone that did not have that sort of serious, self-important, you know, view of how traditionalists can be sometimes. And so we reach out to friends that organized a street art festival in Lausanne, and they suggested Hello Heidi. And Heidi is really an amazing artist. She's really a punk, a hippie. You know, she lives by herself in the mountains in a small like cottage that didn't have electricity up to a few months ago. She used to teach yodeling in one of the most sort of like bad neighborhoods of Geneva, to like drug dealers and immigrants and people from that neighborhood. And then she got picked up by television and became like an instant national star from one day to the other. And then she had like really difficult health problems, and lived on the street for like 6 months. Really, you know, had like ups and downs. But she's also worked with a Korean artist touring in China. She gave workshops in Indonesia, and she normally teaches yodeling to over 100 people in her class. So she was really this sort of tough, bold character that was passionate about herself and her art, but also passionate about challenging that and working with others. So she came here, and from the first night, she brought her accordion out and started singing her yodeling, the traditional one, but also more experimental, you know, aspect of it. And she was meant to be like a virus, you know, in the house. And we just were, and on the first night, the second night, she already, you know, recorded a ballad, a Congolese ballad, you know, and she used to also like be part of a Congolese choir in Geneva. So that was really like touching for her to like connect with Congolese. She speaks Lingala also, out of all like things. She speaks Congolese. So she collaborated with different artists and created an amazing piece in 7 chapters called Metamorphosis. That is really a very personal piece for her, because she's also felt like coming to Uganda was the end of a metamorphosis. And she went from playing traditional music together with traditional Swiss music together with traditional Ugandan musicians, to getting into rap with one producer called Kaboshi, and as well as playing some of her own like more like left field interpretations of yodeling, and also like Afrobeat. So she just went through like different phases, and then came out in the way that you'll see tomorrow. But we were really happy about the process. Our process may be slightly different from Chico's, that has really that curatorial hat, and that we also really highly respect that approach. And but for us, the creation is in like, who do you invite, who do you throw into the mix? It's in like creating chaos and then seeing what is going to happen, and not necessarily. So every artist that came didn't really know what they were going to do when they came, who they were going to work with. And of course there's a level of risk there, but I think also in Chico's case, and how you approach curation, there's also a risk. You never know what you're going to end up with, and that's why we do like attach a lot of importance in the process. Like despite of the output, what are you going to get out of it as a human being, as an artist, in your career, etc. So yeah, I think that was a little bit our experience. But thanks a lot for making this happen.
Cheers, Derek. We are approaching the end. So maybe Lisa, you want to finish things and tell us about the project that we are going to see it today.
Yeah, gladly. And also from my side, thanks for making this happen to Novas Frequências. It was really an interesting experience to make it possible to have artists from all over work together, even if in the case of the work you will see right after this talk, they really did work remotely, and the concept came from a Swiss French horn player who's called Samuel Stoll, and he had been exchanging sound materials back and forth with other musicians that he had been working with before. Just developing them remotely and developing new ideas, just keeping things going while they couldn't see each other. And for In Out, we brought Samuel together with Ray Sapiens, who was introduced to us by Nyege Nyege. He's an electronics musician living in Uganda. And then from Switzerland, there was video artist Julia Morf, who usually works together with a bigger company for music theater pieces, which is called Pulp Noir. When they started exchanging materials, it turned out that this kind of experiment of this back and forth exchange is on the one hand more fitting for musicians than for a video artist, because this reaction time and playing together, even if not at the same time, happens much more spontaneously with musicians. They're more used to it. And on the other hand, the concept works also differently for artists who know each other before, which is a very valid point which you made, Derek. I think this not only bringing people together, but also developing friendships and close relationships. So in the end, the originally planned back and forth became a supplying each other with material and working on them and then forwarding them to the video artists. But still, the result, I think, is really beautiful. I mean, you never know what comes out of these things, but in the end, Samuel contributed some great drones and abstract percussive sounds, and Ray contributed a mix of field recordings and beats and synthetic sounds. And this is a really interesting mix, I think. And then Julia made it into a sort of trip about how we perceive ourselves in relation to space and to the world, which right now, of course, is an interesting question. And personally, I think the best way to experience this would be lying on the floor in a completely dark room with a big stereo system around you and having the visuals just projected on the ceiling, taking off with it.
Thanks, Lisa.
And we're 2 minutes away from it.
So
nice. There's luck in the projector.
So thanks for the talk. I invite you all to stay with us and watch Ignite Me, and then later Filaments of a Circle, and of course the two projects that we debuted yesterday, considering Brazilian time and Central European time. For Uganda, that was today, which is Rome, and Where Do We Go From Here? So yeah, stay tuned, and thanks to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chico.
Thank you.
Good to see everyone.
Thank you, Prudencia.
Take care.
Thanks. Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Bye.